Hi, I'm Chris from Airwindows, and hey, you can do this for certain values of u. I'm just putting that electronic click way in front of the beat because this is SampleUndelay for Mac Audio Unit. So I was asked repeatedly, people who had my original SampleDelay plugin, it came out on AU and it let you do negative delays. Now the sample delay that you've got for all platforms is strictly different versions of doing delay delays rather than negative delays. But the original audio unit version had a special trick, which was being able to do sample delays in the negative time direction. And it was doing it by cheating. It was doing it by declaring a whole bunch of latency, so you don't want to track through this, and then delaying to match the latency. Well, this is what I've got for you now. You can see that if we have these sounds going, well, at no extra delay, that clicking kick drum is kind of coming in at roughly the same time. I'll get into that a little bit more later. If I add more delay, it's obviously hitting after the beat, but then if I move the other direction, it can be obviously in front of the beat, or we can tune it so that it hooks up with a groove if we've got a groove, which we may or may not, but that's the idea behind SampleUndelay, which is the re-release of the original audio unit SampleDelay. Now that's all very well and good. There are some caveats. There's a reason this didn't come out originally when I put out SampleDelay. Like, I tried to do the video for this plugin last week and it crashed the machine. The original code, which is what I tried to run with initially, didn't even run on modern computers. And I got around to trying to do a video for it and it wasn't good. That's why we didn't have anything for a plugin last week. That and the fact that it's January. January is always a little sketchy for me as far as putting out useful stuff. Honestly, last year I just dropped out of site in January and only came back in February. I do intend to come back in February with some cool things, and there'll be a little bit more about that coming up, but the deal with SampleUndelay here is that I'm able to give you it if you are an audio unit user on the Mac. And it is what people asked for, which is the audio unit, but up to speed for modern Apple Silicon and signed, that kind of stuff. So it is the modern type of AU. It's the modern type of AUV2. All this stuff gets really complicated. Thing is, I still ran into problems even now. And I'm letting you have it anyway, but on the basis of understand that this is still running into issues. Specifically, the issues I'm running into are if you run it at 44.1K, it seems to behave as predicted. Like you can give 1 millisecond of negative delay, and then you can give 44 samples, and it will compensate for your negative delay and then end up being no delay again, which of course is its latency, and then it's giving the same amount of delay as the latency. Or you can have 43 or 42 and push stuff ahead a sample or so. However, and if you do have stuff lining up millisecond wise and you put a single sample delay on this one, then it will continue to do as expected. But if you do have stuff lining up millisecond wise and you put a single sample delay on this one, then it will continue to do as expected. But if you do have stuff lining up millisecond wise and you put a single sample delay on this one, then it will continue to do as expected. But if you do have stuff lining up millisecond wise and you put a single sample delay on this one, then it will continue to do as expected. I've found that if I'm not in 44.1K, like my 96K recording that I do now, not all of my programs are honoring that properly. I have had situations where it was a 96K file and it was applying more like 88K latency compensation, and then it would get it wrong. You'd have to move the millisecond stuff around here somewhere, and there would be no way of exactly nailing down what the correct delay was. It would be a pain in the butt, making it not possible to do really accurate things with it. In fact, I would use regular sample delay in that case, and then delay the thing that you want to be later than the other side. And then sometimes it does work. Like, I think some of the programs, if you define it as 96K, and it is doing the compensation, but it's acting like it's not getting the correct delay compensation at the point that latency is declared in the audio unit. So I don't know what to do about that. The programming is correct, but it's not able to do its job properly. Well, still it's doing something, but it's not doing it properly. And yeah, so the way that works is you can, of course, just run it and just kind of eyeball with your ear, this kind of thing. And you can always just put it on a thing. If you want your snare to be delayed, well then heck, that's actually quite easy. Just use the regular sample delay. But if you are putting it on something that you want to hit earlier, well, cranking it to 50 milliseconds early might well be enough to get there regardless of what the real setting is. At which point you can again eyeball it with your ear, figure it out, and tune it as you see fit. Or hear fit, rather. And then adding samples is a further additional delay on a finer level. So you can really dial it in. Both of these are integer numbers of samples, by the way. So it will produce a really accurate sound, and then subsample will let you blur it a little bit if you wanted an even finer adjustment. But this SampleUndelay, unlike the SampleDelay plugin, which as near as I can tell, does what it says on the tin. This one, the latency is kind of weird. It didn't come out the way that I wanted. And so I'm letting you have it anyway. But don't treat it like it's an authority on this is 0 milliseconds plus this many samples, and it will do that. Because I can't guarantee that all of the programs I've experienced honor the latency the same way. And there you go, really. But you can have it. And I'll keep working on other things. For instance, I do have other things that I can show you. If I can click on things properly and know what I'm doing, which eventually will happen. Maybe you let me not deal with that. I'm making noises. And what I'm trying to show you is just the work that I've been doing on K Cathedral. K Cathedral needed work. I put it out, and people immediately said, that's kind of metallic. That sounds worse than my DAW reverb. What are you even doing? And that was very frustrating because a lot went into this. But there was work remaining to be done. In particular, the program that I wrote to calculate these householder reverb matrices that it's using. The K reverbs all use their own discrete householder matrices. It's not just one being adapted to different sounds. Everything has its own unique sound. And what you're going to hear is kind of what that means. Because I can show you what I had when I did K Cathedral, and then what I'm proposing to swap out. And I am entertaining the idea of revisiting K Cathedral, leaving the other one downloadable as a Redux style plugin where you can still get a hold of it, but kind of updating it in place before I move onwards to more. Here's what the original K Cathedral sounded like. I mean, it is spacious and all. But there is a kind of metallic quality, the airiness of it. There's kind of a in the background. And I've been working really hard to try to eliminate that and I have another householder. Actually, I have about 12 other householder things that I could swap in, but here's one of them. My question is, does that have a more spacious feel to it compared to original one? There's the original one. And here's the new one. And the idea is I want to move forward with the new stuff I'm doing with these. And I'm thinking about just redoing that one under the name K Cathedral and releasing it as a Redux. And I'll let you have the original one still. But the idea is I feel like I can do it better in a number of ways. And one of them is that with all of this stuff so far, including the K-plates, and boy, do I have some possible better sounds for the K-plates, but it's always been chasing other people's plugins. And I'm not convinced that the plugins are really giving me what I need or want, even the Bricasti, which of course is not a plugin, it's the hardware device. It has a really rich, deep sound. And yet I hear a kind of compressy quality, something that acts a little bit like all passes, or I'm not sure what, that is, it doesn't sound as much to me like an acoustic space. And I'm wondering whether I should just run with my taste on how things are supposed to sound, which would solve the problem of making it seem like it's a Bricasti hack, because it's not. People have stolen Bricasti algorithms before. I'm not one of them, and I'm not doing specifically the Bricasti code. I'm trying to get something that works the same as that sound, but in my own way. And maybe it's time to try doing that a little harder and do it in a more Airwindowsy kind of way, see what we get. It may not replace Bricasti for people who want specifically that, but it could be its own thing and might find a place and a usefulness. So on that note, it's real cold here. I've been doing live streams on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and a constant theme is it getting cold and me having to put another log on my wood stove fire. And I pretty much need to do that right now. We're in a cold snap up here in Vermont. And I'll get back to taking January and trying to sort of exhale and chill out, get ready for another exciting year of a bunch of stuff happening. And I'll get back to making my video and posting it so that people can have the SampleUndelay. And again, Mac users using audio units can have SampleUndelay. I don't have the answers for being able to make... if I remember correctly, it was always kind of a challenge getting stuff like that working with VSTs anyhow, because a lot of it's sort of undocumented, and I don't know. I bet you can get better stuff out of Clap for that, but that's a story for another day. For now, maybe I'll see some of you folks on the live streams on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.